one of the reasons I started doing this course was because I think there are great planetary changes going on from now through to 2012 particularly, and then on through to 2024. The changes really relate to the way that we are living on Earth, and the fact that we really can't continue living the way we are at the present time. And there really is quite a bit of conflict between the urge to move forward and a lot of fear around about change and staying in the old way. I actually didn't take much notice about 2012, quite frankly, because so much of it to me was superstitious nonsense, with all due respect to those who are into superstitious nonsense, of course. But I'm really not into this idea of the rapture and we're all going to float off the planet and we're all going to have this amazing change overnight and become the most beauticious people on Earth. I don't think change happens like that. There can be upheaval, and there can be a lot of real change in the way we think and operate. But I think the idea that we're all going to move into the fifth dimension and the Earth's going to float into the fifth dimension, but those who aren't quite as spiritual as the rest of us, not so spiritually advanced, are going to hang behind, I think is not in itself spiritual, quite frankly. So I was quite cynical about the whole idea of what sort of change was taking place and why everyone was getting worked up about 2012 and the Mayan prophecies that everything was going to end doo-dah, 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 you know, doom and gloom. And then I read this particular book, which is by Liz Green, and it's called The Outer Planets and Their Cycles. Now, the three outer planets, Uranus, Pluto and Neptune, I refer to the outer planets because they have very long orbits around the Sun, and they tend to impact on the collective consciousness, and that's what we're seeing at the present time. Uranus is moved forward into Aries, in the early degrees of Aries, and it's all about revolution, change, upheaval, new ideas, innovation. But there's also what's called a square, which is conflict between Pluto and Capricorn. Now, Pluto is a planet that really digs down and brings the hidden stuff up to the surface. It really shows the corruption, what needs to be cleared out. It can do that in your own life. At the present time, I just want to talk about societies and governments and public life in general. So there's a conflict between those two formations. One of the ways we've seen Uranus and Aries express itself was with the earthquake and tidal wave in Japan. Now, apart from the terrible catastrophe itself, what actually happened was that the event brought to public mind again the whole dangers of uranium mining. And you could say that's really a plutonic thing, can't you? Much as I hate to say it because it sounds a bit doolally. But it really brought the whole issue of nuclear energy and uranium back into the public consciousness, because it's been wiped out in the past decade or so. You know, we've been told that all the catastrophes that have happened previously at 5 Mile Island and in the Soviet Union were just aberrations. But here we suddenly find that the whole issue of uranium is back in our face again. And we're also looking now at huge upheaval around the Murdoch Empire. All the hidden stuff, all the crap, all the shit that's been going on under the carpet in this empire, particularly in England at the present time, is now coming out into the open. And who would have thought this would have happened about 10 days ago? Now, the other thing is that while we're going through this process, keep your eye open for what is going on around the world. For instance, I was interested in the assassination of Hamid Karzai's brother, because little things like that can actually trigger large things further down the line. So keep your eye on what's happening around the world, the upheavals, the changes, the Arab Spring, for example, the fact that Egyptian people are back out on the street again. I just see this in relation to the changes that are going on. I have done a longer post, which I've put on my blog, and I've also put on the course page, so you can have a look in more detail. But I think these changes are why we ourselves have to learn to go with new things that are happening at the earth level and new things in our life. We need to tune in what is in our highest interests, where our passions lie, who we actually are, not what we do to be thought of in good terms by other people. It's really a time now when we need to learn to live our own lives, to live who we are. So if you start having a look at the way this is operating at the collective consciousness, and you might want to get that book by Liz Green because it's really quite interesting actually, we can then apply those 3 planets to our daily lives. Now, one thing I did forget to say is that the reason I was interested in that book particularly is not just because she talks in general terms, but that she talked about the changes that were going to happen in the Soviet Union 10 years ahead of when she gave this lecture. And she actually predicted, looking at the formation of the planets influencing the Soviet Union, that the Union would fall apart. Now, she wasn't actually into predictive astrology as such, but just pointing out in general terms, because you really can't say exactly what's going to happen, even though you can see the general movements. So have a look at what's happening around you, because further down the line we are then going to have a look at how these planets affect you in your life at different stages, because if you know how they're going to affect you, or how they have affected you, or how they're affecting you now, you can learn to go with the challenges that life sends out for you. So as I said, go and have a look at what I've written about the outer planets and their effects at the present time on collective consciousness. If you're really interested and would like to go further, then I'd suggest you have a look at the websites of Jessica Murray. That's called Mother Sky. Mystic Medusa's writing quite a bit at the moment about Uranus and Aries. You can go to Astro Deans, which is astro.com. And these 2 give you excellent information about what's happening at the present time. So I'll leave you with that for now. And then after you've done the work with the earlier work that I suggested, with the images that you saw at the new moon about creative visualization, then we'll go back to working with these planets and how they affect you through more creative work. So have fun, my darlings, and I'll catch up with you later. Bye.